You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. This is Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, and I'm Steve Adams, or Mighty Blue. These past 4 days, we've been walking on a very wet trail indeed, though I did take a zero on the Wednesday because of the record amounts of rainfall that were expected. That said, we've faced an extremely wet trail the following few days, which is actually something that I haven't faced so far on this particular through hike. And as you'd imagine, I've fallen a couple of more times. No worries though, nothing hurt this time. Several of you took the time to write and express concern for my constant falling. So this week, and by the way, thanks for caring, I don't ever take that for granted. This week I've come up with a theory. You're going to hear what that is shortly. Anyway, despite all the rain with the wet rocks and the wet roots, I put in some substantial miles and kept up my averages. But before we hear how these last 4 days have gone, let's hear from our sponsor, Polar Steps. If you're heading out on a long hike this year, which I am, I've got something I think you're going to love. It's called Polar Steps. It's a travel tracking app that's going to become a favourite with hikers. You set your start date, let it run quietly in the background, and it maps your entire journey automatically, all on your own beautiful spinning 3D globe. And don't worry, the tracking feature uses about 4% of your battery on a single charge, so it's not going to kill your phone when you're out there. You can add photos and short journal entries as you go, so your map shows you where you were and your words remind you of what that day actually felt like. There's a light social layer too. Family and friends can follow along, or you can keep it completely private. As every hiker says, hike your own hike. And when you're done, you can relive the whole thing in the app or turn it into a stunning coffee table book with your route, stats, photos and stories. And did I tell you that it's entirely free to download and use? The only time you'll be paying anything is if you decide to turn your trip into a book. That's Polar Steps. Track it now, treasure it forever. Day number 108, which was last Wednesday, where we took a 0 day in Lee. And I did this because there was going to be rain all day long. And Nuke was sharing the room with me, which really helps with the cost of it, obviously. Although it was terribly expensive because I think the Tanglewood Music Festival was on. And we met a bunch of people actually at breakfast. And including a lady called Sarah, who said to get in touch when we came somewhere closer to where she lived. So that's somewhere in Vermont, so I'll be looking out for that. And as I say, they were talking between 3 and 6 inches of rain over a 36 or 48 hour period. And that just seemed massive to us. So we just stayed out of it. And I forgot to tell you that I did my laundry the previous day in the motel. And it's worth pointing out how important it is, especially to us hikers. Maybe it doesn't matter to other people, but when you go into a motel or a hotel, you really want to use laundry facilities. Instead of having to go out to a coin-operated laundry somewhere else that you just don't know of, to be able to walk along the passageway, get your quarters out and do your laundry, man, that makes so much difference. And this had a perfectly clean laundry room, which we use. I mean, I was very impressed with this quality inn. They had a terrific breakfast, particularly for hikers, because they had those Jimmy Dean sandwiches, which are 500 calories each. And that, I think the first breakfast I had there, which was must have been the Tuesday morning, I suppose. The Wednesday morning. That was that morning, actually. I had 3 of them, even though I wasn't hiking that day. And that was 1,500 calories straight away. But it wasn't just that. It was yogurt. It was great coffee, really good coffee, actually. It was, what else was there? There was pastries, there was cereal, and it was a great place to have breakfast. And I really, really was impressed with it. And several other people were taking the day off, as Nuke and I were. So I took the opportunity to interview 3 of them. Last time you heard from Festa, and after this you're going to hear from Nat Geo. I only had one thing I needed to do the podcast, but the thing I needed to do, which meant going further into town, was to go to a hairdresser's. I really wanted to trim my beard and get my hair trimmed, and also my eyebrows, and to defuzz as much as possible from my ears and nose. When I checked on Google Maps, there were two options. There was either Steve's Barbershop, which apparently had been here since the beginning of time, and Mike's Professional Barbershop. And looking at the reviews, they were both pretty well regarded. I think different clientele for different people, I guess. I just opted for Mike's Professional Barbershop and got into town. Renée dropped me off, and I went to Mike's Professional Barbershop, and she told me it would reopen again at 1 o'clock, and it was about 5 minutes to 1. Turns out they weren't reopening until 25 to 2 for some reason. So I thought, well, I might as well go to Steve's Barbershop. That was also well reviewed. I went in there, and this sounds like I'm being rude to them. I'm not meaning to be rude to them, but they were pretty old guys. I mean, they made me look like a real youngster. And this guy cut my hair. He trimmed it really nicely, the beard. He did the hair. And I don't know, I just didn't check that I wasn't paying attention, I guess, that he'd done my nose or ears, or most of all, my bushy eyebrows, which just looked so much bushier after this. I went out of there without having them done. And now, a few days later, they're just going crazy, going in all sorts of different directions. So I did actually ask some women, I said, do these beauty salons wax your ears and wax your nose? And apparently they do. So if I can find a town which isn't too inconvenient, I may well go and get my ears waxed, which would be kind of weird. I'm sure there'd be a lot of screaming involved because I'm a bit of a wuss like that. But I need to do my eyebrows more than anything else right now. So I went back and I spent a few hours in my room. I'm actually, as I say, sharing with Nuke, and I'm trying to get my podcast together. I didn't really want to record in front of Nuke, and even though he volunteered to go out of the room, I asked the front desk if I could use the breakfast room for the purposes of recording. They're very helpful. And I went in there, and you probably all heard last week that it sounded terribly tinny, so I apologise for that. Nonetheless, I was able to get the podcast done, and once again, I realised that it takes me so much longer to do things when I've got longer time to do it. If I had a shorter period of time in which to get it done, then I would have been able to do it no problem at all. I simply get too distracted when I've got more time. And I feel that's the same with my hiking as well. When I've got a shorter distance to go, I struggle more than I do if I've got a longer distance. I don't know why. I really don't know why. That night, Nuke and I went back to 51 Park Restaurant and Tavern, had a pizza, a beer, and a glass of cab, which was nice. Heidi was unavailable, so we walked there because the rain had stopped. And I'm very happy with how, I'm not saying I don't like taking days off. I don't like 0 days particularly, but I like to have a purpose for them. And this particular purpose was to manage my hike, because the amounts of rain they had forecast was terrifying, really. And I know from hiking it the following day how much rain was on trail. So we managed our hike by taking the day out, and lots of other people had done the similar thing. So I was very happy with that decision. But as I say, Heidi hadn't been available to take us to the restaurant, but we did arrange to pick us up at 7:45 the following morning, because we were heading back out there, even though there was going to be rain first thing. So I'm here now with Michael, or Nat Geo. Mm-hmm. Hey, Nat Geo, thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
And why are you Nat Geo?
I'm Nat Geo because I would not shut up about all the cool plant and animal life when we first took the trail.
How do you know this stuff?
I've just kind of always been I grew up a bug kid. I was the guy who was always looking out for caterpillars and ants and stuff.
Right.
I've just kind of always had a bit of a passion for natural science, and
I wish I had it. I wish I had that in me. I love it, because when I see these trees, I want to talk about what these trees are. I have no idea.
Yeah,
it's a tree.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I mean, I grew up in Kentucky, place with a lot of natural beauty, a lot of goldenrod and stuff, just kind of kicking around, beautiful plants. And,
sure.
And I remember learning, because I don't want to present I'm an expert, I got Nat Geo because it was relative, right? I was me and 3 other people, like we were hiking together after Neil Gap, and like we had a guy who was like an actual U.S. forestry like retired guy. He knew a lot more about the trees, but I just had a bunch of like dumb little fun facts. I'm wearing this Paw Paw Festival T-shirt because back home we've got this festival around this tree that actually fruits out every like summer.
That is nerdy. That's definitely
yeah, it's
nerdy.
great. I have a big passion for like learning about the vegetation and like animals around where I live, and
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And have you seen had many animal encounters on trail?
Sure. I mean, you know, like everyone, I've seen my good share of like rattlers and stuff. I think
I've seen loads of snakes. I've seen loads of deer. I haven't seen a single bear.
Yeah, I've seen exactly 1 in the wild. I've seen 2 overall. The other one was in like a canal in Gatlinburg.
Right.
Just kind of making its way through town, but
right.
But Dash and I saw
still counts.
Yeah, absolutely. It sure felt like it did. These things are huge.
Yeah.
It's like a smart car on legs.
Wow, yeah.
But yeah, I saw like I've seen a bear. I've seen a bunch of snakes.
You've seen a porcupine yet?
Only up in a tree. I want to see them. I love their little waddle. They got that weird little like opossum waddle.
They do. Yeah.
Love those guys. So
no,
it's been great.
You just mentioned Dash. I've just spoken to Dash as well. So, did you intend to hike with a partner or not?
Kind of, yeah. A big part of the reason why I'm out here to hike this, in addition to just seeing a ton of really great nature and physically challenging myself, like I did deliberately head out here to like meet new people and to kind of like, I don't know, just expand my horizons and talk to people who I would not have ever met in my like daily life. So, and I've been very fortunate that I've gotten that.
That's true. That's true. But you when you hike, I'm always interested when people. And I don't mean hook up in that sense, but get together and start hiking.
Yeah.
How they compromise their own hike in terms they'll do things that the other one wants to do and so on. She's told me how she's managed it. How have you managed it? How do you look at that in terms of how you manage your day to day on the trail?
I'm not sure what she said. I don't think I really have felt like a ton of compromise. I think what makes Dash and I such a good like hiking team is that we seem to have. I mean, the similar pace helps, of course, and stuff. Of course, we both are, I think, good too about planning. We we're both planners. Her certainly more than I, but like we split planning really well and stuff. I just don't think there's been a ton of compromise. We kind of tend to keep the same end dates or in spots, camps that we'll camp down at. And in between the actual hikes, we just kind of hike our own hike.
Yeah.
She likes to kind of go a little faster. I like to chew the scenery, obviously, and. You just got to kind of keep in mind that, like, we're different people. We're hiking the same trail. But
you have to regard somebody else, though.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, I like hiking around people. I don't particularly like hiking with people. I like the idea of meeting at the end of the day. In fact, if I'm hiking with somebody, I want to make sure they're out of my earshot.
Yeah.
And not just the talking, just the poles clacking. I don't even like to hear other people's poles clacking.
Yeah.
I just want to hear my own when I'm out there.
Yeah, for sure. But no, it's just... for me, I've found it's just kind of like acknowledging that we're different folks. We've got different preferences and kind of working to that.
And this is your very first backpacking trip, like mine was in 2014.
Yep.
How quickly did you love it? Because you appear to be loving it now. How quickly did you think, this is as good as I thought it was going to be, or better?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Those first couple weeks in Georgia were really rough, obviously. It was a hell of an adjustment.
Were they rough? Did you think of going home ever?
Yeah, day 4.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
day 4. I remember it. Part of it was that I wasn't watching my electrolytes really well, so I think I was having like a physiological response to just like some intense fatigue and maybe some dehydration. But I remember sitting in the foothills of Blood Mountain and just kind of like freaking out for a little bit. So it did take a second. I think around Neil Gap, when Dash and my like kind of tramily got together, was sort of the first bit where I was starting to really like kind of click with the trail.
Sure.
But it came slow. I mean, I knew going into this, because it was my first backpacking trip, that this was going to be like tough. And I knew even with like my love of nature and like getting to see like the seasons change, which was super cool, like I knew all that was going to take time. So it was probably like 2 or 3 weeks into the thing that I really started to feel like, oh yeah, this kind of rules. Like,
I bet you didn't realize how tough it was going to be, though, did you?
No, hell no. If you would have shown me the terrain that we've been seeing in like Pennsylvania, New York, back when I started this, I probably would have been a lot more like wobbly in the knees, right?
I wrote a short book called Hiking the Appalachian Trail is Easy, especially if you've never hiked before. Because you have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. And so and you're exactly right, I've kind of tried to preserve a lot of that surprise for me.
So you're going to go back to work? Have you got a job to go back to, or just as and when? So
no, I don't have anything lined up.
How old are you?
31.
All right, okay. So did you quit job to come out here? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. Me and my last job parted ways in like February.
Oh, right, perfect.
Which was kind of, worked out really great for me because I was like, oh, well, I'll just go ahead and spend the like last month before this trip preparing.
Sure.
So no, I don't intend to return to that job. I don't really intend to return to that like sector of engineering that I was working in like at all. So I do have like kind of a sizable job search waiting for me when I get home, which is going to be be interesting.
You're not going to go try to do the Triple Crown before you go back to work?
No, probably not. My bank account would probably not allow that.
Will you do other long trails, do you think?
I don't know.
Has this given you a taste for doing more?
It's definitely given me a taste. Yeah. I've not got any like hard plans to do it, but I would not be surprised if I at least tried for the PCT eventually. CDT sounds a little intimidating for me right now.
That'd be ridiculous. You can't possibly just do two of them. If you know yourself well enough as a hiker, you would know you'd have to do the third one.
I'm sure after doing the PCT, that is exactly how I feel.
But first, let's get the first one out of the way.
Exactly. There's still the Whites and Mahoosuc Notch waiting for us, right?
Mahoosuc Notch is fine. It's the arm when you go up after Mahoosuc Notch. It's exhausting, and then this massive down. But don't worry about that. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
The Whites, they're tough. But
for sure.
Thanks for talking to us, and good luck on the rest of your hike.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Cheers. Day 109, which was Thursday. Main Road, which is where I got off the previous day, or 2 days before, which is mile 1549.1 to the Cookie Ladies, mile 1567, a 17.9 mile, very wet day. Once again, we hit the Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches. They were terrific. And, 500 calories a pop is well worth taking at least two of those on the way. This time I also added some cereal to it, a couple of bananas, and frankly, as much as possible. Once again, very, very impressed with the way in which they do their breakfast. They really understand hikers. They really catered to them. So I was really, really pleased with the quality inn. Best quality inn, in fact, I've ever been to. Actually, before we move on from the quality inn, the third person I'd interviewed there was Lauren or Dash, and I'm going to play that conversation after this. Heidi turned up, 7:45, and a lady got out the front of the car. I recognised her straight away. It was Hangsaw. I'd last met her back, I think I must have seen her, at Burt's Garden. She was hiking with Maybelline, if you remember, Maybelline, that lovely lady who I interviewed very early on, the lady who put eyeshadow or put mascara on. She'd actually flipped up to Katahdin, so we may very well see her coming towards us at some stage. But Hangsaw was there again, and she said she was going slowly, but she was still making it, still doing the miles, and she'd done all these miles. We were now at, say, 1,550. She'd done 1,550 miles. She gets there. She's very tenacious, I tell you. So came to the first hill, and the Jimmy Deans got me straight up the hill very easily. I don't know why. It really was fuel. And Nuke, because of the way in which the two of us had finished the previous day before we had our 0 day, he'd actually got off 5 miles ahead of me. So, of course, he was now being dropped off 5 miles ahead of me. And he texted me to warn me that while the terrain wasn't too bad in terms of climbs, there were at least 4 streams rushing, and that they were like rivers, that I would get wet. And I did get wet, but not actually as dramatically as I might have done. And because normally you just easily get across these streams. They're running quite dryly, actually, in many cases, and you just go from from rock to rock. But when they are moving really fast. And there were 5 colossally fast streams. You've got to be very careful on them, and obviously with the slippy rocks. But I managed to get across each of them by just taking my time, sticking my poles in the water, steadying myself and going from rock to rock. I did get a full foot rather, underwater on one of them. That, of course, soaked my foot for the rest of the day, but kind of the way it goes. And of course, I was paying special attention to my feet and not falling over. And I found that I was coping pretty well with the wet rocks and roots. In fact, given that there was so much water and so many slippery rocks and roots, it seemed like an unmitigated triumph to me that I only had one fall, which was a careless tumble that just sent me into the ferns and didn't hurt me at all. Nonetheless, it was fall number 14. I did call out the number because I wasn't hurt, and 14 falls. That it happened late in the day with just a mile or so to go, it was kind of a shame that it happened, but no harm was done. And by the way, I think I have a bit of a theory as to why I'm falling so much. In the first 600 miles, I was wearing size 14 boots. I fell twice. In the next 500 or so, I've fallen 12 times in size 15 boots. And of course they're longer, and I'm wondering, and I'm pretty sure this is so, I'm doing a lot of my falls by just tripping on my back foot. As my left foot comes over, which is often my back foot, it comes over and just tips a root or something like that, and it just sends me flying. I have quite a long stride, and I'm wondering if that is it, because my shoes are slightly longer, my boots are slightly longer, that I am falling over in that way. But as I say, no harm was done for this fall or the one that happened the next day. The goal all day had been to get to the cookie lady's place, and I did visit the original cookie lady some years ago, but this isn't the original cookie lady. She actually passed not too long ago, and her and her husband, in fact. The place has now been bought by Ruth, who's keeping the spirit of the place alive. They've got beds in an airplane hangar on the property where a bunch of my fellow hikers were already. They allow you to tent anywhere. So I set up just outside the hangar, which was convenient because I could pop in there and cook my food and all that sort of stuff. They've got electricity on the front porch, some hibiscus tea, and of course cookies, keeping the tradition alive. Several people were gathering blueberries in a bucket to earn a free meal. Do you know what? I was just too darn exhausted from the day. Nearly an 18-mile day. It was the first day out after the storm, so I felt pretty good about it, considering it was so wet. But 18 miles is quite a lot, so I was too exhausted. So I just cooked for myself, and I hung out chatting with my fellow hikers as they were milling about, and that was the end of that day. So I'm in the business centre, I think, of the hotel we're staying at, Quality Inn, in, where are we, Lee?
Lee.
Lee. This is Lauren or Dash. Thanks for talking to us, Lauren. How long have you been on trail? When did you start?
Good. I started March 29th.
Yep.
And hoping to finish by mid-September, which kind of was what I was thinking at the outset. So I think we're doing pretty good. Yep. Haven't had any major injuries or anything. So yeah, it's been going well.
And why'd you come in the first place? What was it about the AT you wanted to do?
I started reading books about through hiking like maybe 10 years ago. I think it started with Wild by Cheryl Strayed.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then I read Becoming Odysseus, North by Scott Jurek, who set the FKT at the time.
Sure.
The AWOL book. I've just consumed so much about it, and I couldn't get enough. So it was in the back of my head. And then this past year, I've had a really stressful work situation the past few years.
Sure.
And I wanted to quit and just take a break. So I was like, wow, this is actually perfect timing. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. So
Don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 32.
That's an unusual age, as it were, to take a break, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I was working at the same place for 10 years.
All right.
And just the last 2, I was in AI, which is the thing. So it was really stressful.
I bet it was. They're finding it even more stressful now. What are you going to do when you get back then?
I don't know. That was part of why I wanted to come out, was just to get away from that and think about it. Part of my job was doing more responsible use and governance, and so maybe leaning a little bit more into that side of things and how do we use AI?
You should get a government job
responsibly.
I mean, they need some people who know roughly what they're talking about. That's quite helpful. So, I know you're hiking with
Nat Geo.
Nat Geo.
Yeah.
Nat Geo, great name. Yeah. So, when did you meet up with him?
So actually there was 4 of us who all met up at Neil's Gap.
Right.
So it was him, Ranger, and Aloe Vera. And we all like...
Aloe Vera.
Yeah, you can tell how he got that name.
Yeah.
And the next 2 days after that, we just ended up at the same camp spots. And like actually independently, Ranger and Aloe Vera separately were like, should we all keep hiking together? So that's like how we started hiking together.
And do you find that, 'cause I hike by myself deliberately because I'm slower than most people anyway, but I like to sort of set my own agenda. So how do you and Nat Geo work on a partnership? Because you've got a boyfriend at home, and I'm guessing, I haven't spoken to him yet, but guessing he has as well, got a girlfriend at home. So how do you manage that? Do you go what you both say what you can do that day, or does one lead? What happens?
Yeah, we're pretty good at planning out. Like each day, like we just planned out till the next resupply, so at least we kind of roughly know how much food we need. And then each day, we say like, okay, we're going to meet at this spot at the end of the day and kind of hike, usually independently from one another, and just end up there. Occasionally, we'll have like if we feel good, we'll go further, or like we'll have 2 options, and then we'll just kind of either wait or text each other like, how are we feeling? Like the other day, we were going to maybe push, but I went off trail by a mile, like downhill, and then come back up. So I texted him.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah. It was like the first time I really did that badly. It was actually after those 3 mountains. So then after I went like straight downhill. So I thought I was done with the uphill for the day, but then I had to come back. So I texted him and I was like, I need to stop at the first stop today. We're not usually like hiking together every day. It's more like meeting up at the same place.
And we're all having breakfast together. You talked about hot takes.
Yeah.
So tell people what your hot takes are.
My hot take was I've met so many people and they mean really well, but it's almost like goes too far with the like, oh, you have to like stop at every vista and like slow down and experience it. And
no, you don't.
Yeah, like because like I'm a trail runner, so I keep saying like the enjoyment for me a lot of times is getting in the flow and like getting into a good pace and feeling like how strong my body feels.
Sure.
So then like to stop at every trail magic or every single thing would like just feel really disjointed.
Sure.
So obviously people
you
mean
definitely
well.
Stop at all trail magic. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They're right there.
Like,
they're right there, definitely. Yeah.
You can't necessarily stop for like an hour every time. But so they mean well, obviously, because they want you to have a good experience.
And have you noticed the impact on your body so far? I mean, not in terms of how you look, but how you feel.
Yeah. The reason why I got my trail name is because I came in pretty in shape, like with my trail legs already.
Right.
So like I was ahead of
that's
my
helpful.
trailing.
That's helpful, yeah.
So like we would go up a hill and I would like beat them up by like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Of course, then they got their trail legs. So, but I have been realizing lately how like worn down I am. Like early on, I feel like I could like really speed up the hills or like even jog sometimes, like on the nice flats, and I'm like, I couldn't do that now. I just have to like kind of chip away slowly at the day.
Well, we're coming up to now the really tough stuff.
Yeah.
This has just been a warm-up.
I know.
And it is massively different. And that's the one thing I'm wondering about, because I've got 400 miles to fill in at the end. I'm thinking to myself, when I get to Katahdin, I was originally thinking to myself, when I get to Katahdin, I'm going to be really fit. But when I get to Katahdin, I'm going to be knackered, completely and utterly knackered.
At least like the part you're going back to is like a little bit better than, you don't have to go through the whites again.
Yeah, but it's a tiredness thing. And I must say, all the women look better and all the men look terrible.
Yeah.
We're all terribly, we've all lost so much damn weight. Well, look, I appreciate you talking to us and I hope it ends well for you. And you get to Katahdin, you take my advice and tell all your stories in the first 2 weeks.
I know, I will be. I felt that even like, because I'm from New Jersey, so I got to be with my parents for a little bit. And I already was like, you guys don't get it,
Yeah, they just never will.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Cheers. Day number 110, which was Friday. The Cookie Ladies, mile 1567, to Father Tom's campsite in Cheshire, mile 1585.6, an 18.6 mile day. The original plan was to get to the Crystal Mountain campsite, which was 4.4 miles shorter. But as you'll hear, I changed my plan for a particular reason. I'll tell you about that in a minute. I was also going to be meeting a guy called Caboose. I'd met him at Trail Days, and he lived somewhere near the area. We planned to meet in Dalton, where the trail goes right through the town, at around 12 or 12:30 lunchtime. He wanted to meet up and give me a drink and maybe have lunch. So, yeah, sure, why not? I'd love to. I left the Cookie Ladies just after 7:20 a.m. and set off in some trepidation because of the rain we had recently. I was pretty determined to avoid another fall, and naturally enough, of course, I failed again, and fall number 15 was in the books. Fortunately, again, it wasn't a bad fall, but I suppose they're never easy, and they never exactly enhance my day. I think as I say, I do like my theory of the size 15 shoes, but there's not much I can do about it. I think I'm getting used to them. The falls haven't been too bad recently. I know I'm tempting fate, but so far I haven't hurt myself in the last week or so, I don't think. So, that's the way it goes. I love going through Massachusetts with its beaver dams and its lakes. It's very atmospheric, and it always takes me back to my childhood and watching a TV show called, I think it was Hawkeye and the Last of the Mohicans. J. Fenimore Cooper really evokes the area, and I remember Chinach Cook was the Last of the Mohicans, I think, and Hawkeye canoeing across this river. I can kind of imagine them doing it. It just evokes so much memory of my childhood. So at least I came out of the forest at Dalton, and Caboose, or Scott, was there waiting for me with his trunk of his car open and a nice bunch of cold drinks in the back. But we sat. I sat on the trunk of his car because I was exhausted, but I didn't want to have to retrace my steps. So I walked further into town while Scott drove there, and we met up at a pub, which was also on trail, and had a sandwich and a beer. It was nice chatting with him. People are kind enough to want to visit, and it's not incumbent upon me, but it feels like they want to chat about hiking. I love chatting about hiking, so I'm happy to do that. And the fact that he was happy to buy me a sandwich and a beer made it even better. It was nice to meet up with Scott. I think I was there for about 45 minutes to an hour, and I had to move on, so walked quite a long way through town. I don't recall it being so far, actually. Eventually, you just reach the edge of town and you plunge back into a forest. It's kind of weird, actually. I'd looked at Far Out, and I saw that Father Tom's campsite in Cheshire looked to be a far better campsite than the Crystal Mountain one. It's provided by the people of Cheshire, so thanks to them. And it has a very flat field. There are plenty of tent sites with 4 poles so that hikers can hang up their hammocks as well. It's also got electricity and 2 portaloos, and even a couple of bikes to borrow if you fancy it, which is kind of nice. And a very nice, what's the word for it? Faucet? Not faucet. I can't remember where you get your water from. It's a great place, really good place, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't there last time, but I wanted to get there. So the plan changed a little. When I got to the Crystal Mountain campsite, it was fine, but there was no one else there. There was a privy there, which is kind of nice that there was, and apparently there was access to water nearby, and there was a bear box. But I just thought if I made that extra effort, then it would be better for me. It was now about 4:15, and I still had 4.4 miles to go, and so I just set off. But then, as often happens at the end of the day, you kind of get into the groove, almost in the zone, and I made those miles really easily. And I passed the Cheshire Cobble along the way, which is a dramatic rock formation that looks over Cheshire. And it actually looks better from down below when you hike down past it and you look up at it, and it's a very dramatic spot. So I got there, I got to Father Tom's. I'd managed to do about 35 miles, maybe 36 miles in 2 days, get myself back on track, because with the 0 day on Wednesday and a short day the day before, I needed to keep those miles up. So I felt very, I wouldn't say accomplished, but I felt very good about how the last 2 days had gone, especially how bad the weather was. But even better, Forge told me that there was some sort of hiker appreciation event in the next town, which took us up and over Mount Greylock. And so the next day, we'd be going up and over Mount Greylock, which I recalled from before. Quite a climb. But once you get down from Mount Greylock, you got to North Adams rather. And they were saying that if you contacted a lady called Renée, she was promising slack packs over Greylock. Fantastic. And slack packs, and I assume you all know this, but slack packs are basically the stuff you need for that day, and somebody takes your full pack on. And she's agreed to take some people. I called her quite late, probably about 8:30. Actually, I texted her and she called me straight back and said, yes, she'd come and pick us up. I said, I'd like to leave about 7 a.m. and she'd come and pick us up. She could take as many as 5 packs. So I told Nuke, and the following morning we told other people. But yeah, that was a nice little bonus to end the day. Day 111, which was Saturday. Father Tom's campsite in Cheshire, mile 1585.6 to Barber Road, North Adams, mile 1600.0. Yep, gone through 1600 miles, but of course I know I haven't. I'm still just under 1200 miles, still not bad. It was a 14.4 mile slack pack up and over Mount Greylock. Renée turned up as promised at about 6:45, I think actually, and we loaded up our packs. I was ready to go, so I headed out just before 7. It was an easy, flat road walk through part of Cheshire for a left turn on the trail. I missed it to start with, of course, and the way, of course, you find out you've missed it because there's no white blazes anymore. And I thought, have I missed it? Because there was a sign that there's a sign on these on trees or on posts of a double white blaze. And if there's one white blaze, then one below it to the right of it, it means you're about to turn left. Now there's one white blaze, then one above it, which is left, you go left. And I saw that and I thought, well, the next road I'm going to turn left. So I carried on walking, but I should have turned left immediately. So I had to backtrack about 100 yards when I realised I'd gone wrong. Then we crossed a small meadow before heading across the road, and a sign that told us that the summit of Mount Greylock was 7.7 miles uphill, which is a long way to be climbing. And the climb started immediately with a sharp descent up into more meadow before plunging back into the forest once more. Again, this was one of those climbs that, though it's daunting on far out, was evenly spaced out with flatter parts that allowed you to recover your breath. And for me, as a person who struggles uphill a bit, that really helps me. I can rationalise it in my mind. It seems easier in my mind if I attack it in segments like that. Get up the first bit, have a bit of a flat walk, and then go up again. It was 2,500 feet of ascent across 7.5 miles. And considering that we'd done some 1,000-foot climbs over 1 mile, it was quite a pleasant day, really. And I remember it being pretty easy, relatively easy last time. And near the top, you can see more and more, because you cross roads a few times, more and more of the public driving up there, and 1 or 2 people are parked down below and are hiking up on the trails as well. And you suddenly come out of the forest and you see this lighthouse-style tower. I think it's about 93, 94 feet high, and it serves as a war memorial. It really is quite impressive. I turned off to the right to visit Bascombe Lodge, where I was able to buy a burger and a Coke. Young Forge was there, along with Zoo and Hot Tang, as well as Nat Geo and Dash. I went slightly off trail after I finished eating to go around the memorial and look down upon an incredibly spectacular view of the valley below. I think it's probably the best view on trail because we look so high up, and people there seem to have set themselves up for a few hours of just sitting there on blankets looking down below. And the warm weather didn't suck either. So, it's a lovely place to sit up there. You can get yourself a coffee or I think a beer at the Bascombe Lodge and get something to eat and just go and sit there and look at the world below. It's such a treat to see some of these views. We normally have to walk to get there, and we had walked there to get there, although sometimes you can drive to them. This is one of those examples where the public can get up and see what we see, and they're very lucky, let me tell you. I saw a nuke at the top, and then the path started heading down, initially on a path, then onto more and more rocks, because once the path drops away, it's where people have been parking, obviously. Then we get more and more rocks, and it tested our knees all the way down. I find, and I think I may have mentioned this before, that following somebody, and actually following Nuke, who's a similar pace to me but slightly faster, it really helps me to pace myself, and it enables me to go down and stay safe. Didn't fall on the way down. Yeah, woohoo! Go me, eh? Eventually, for what seemed like hours, it was pretty quick given the miles that we'd done. We came out onto the streets of North Adams. We knew that there was this hiker appreciation day at Barber Street, which was just 50 yards off the trail, and we turned up there at about 2:45 in the afternoon. So for a 15-mile day, took us 7.5 hours. Not bad at all, especially up and over a mountain. Renée was hospitality itself. We were given so much food and so much to drink that it seemed endless. And as through hikers, of course, we absolutely lapped it up. She told us that we could camp in her backyard, and about 5 of us took the opportunity. I asked Renée if I could record her, and she agreed. I'll play that after this. The event was put together by various trail angels in the town, and it seems that all they wanted to do is improve our day. How lucky are we, eh? Once I had about, I think it was 2 burgers and 3 hot dogs, several bits of fruit, some pie, a sloppy joe, whatever that is, which was great. And I'm sure other things I've forgotten to mention. I think I'd probably had enough by then. Renée, whose trail name is Firebug, she actually often sleeps in the garden herself, then started the fire as we all sat around while 2 of the guys went out on a beer run and returned with a few cans. I had one, but by then I was pretty tired, and I retired to my tent. As always, when I was sort of lying down, I shook my head, but not only from my luck, but also the generous spirit of these kind of people who just want to make our days better. It's hard to believe sometimes, isn't it? So I'm here with Renée Royal. Hey Renée, thanks for talking to us.
You're welcome.
Now, I'm talking to you because yesterday you put on this amazing event in your garden. Tell us what it is.
It's the annual Appalachian Trail Through Hikers Appreciation Cookout.
Why are you appreciating Appalachian Trail Through Hikers?
Well, it's more like appreciating what they do and what they put themselves through.
What do you think we put ourselves through?
I think you put yourselves through a lot. It's tough, and we appreciate that, and we appreciate hikers coming to our town.
You gave us so much darn food yesterday. Who was the guy? Who was the guy doing the burgers and the hot dogs? I must have had 2 burgers, I think, at least, and about 4 hot dogs.
That was Kevin.
Right.
He's a trail angel.
So it's a collection of trail angels in the town.
Yes.
How long have you been doing this?
I personally have been doing this for 4 years.
And how did it start?
For me,
Yeah.
It started with 2 through hikers who came out of the woods onto the street, and I was talking with the other trail angel, and he asked if there was a place where he could stealth camp.
Right.
And then back then I had no idea what that meant. So he said he just needed a place to pitch a tent that wasn't a campsite because they didn't want to walk anymore. It was raining. So I looked at my yard and I decided that I slept out there all of my life in my backyard so they could pitch a tent in my yard.
And now you've extended that to your neighbour's yard, haven't you?
And now I have my neighbor's yard and my aunt's yard. So
I slept there last night in the yard as well. And the generosity knows it covers many things. The one which you said was when you go to bed tonight, you're going to leave the back door open so we could use the restroom during the night. I'm not sure everybody came in, but
I'm not sure either, and I never really know. But that, to me, where we live in the West End is a very safe place. Yeah. The situation of my house, the direction, I think it's safe to do that, and I trust through hikers more than I trust most people.
Isn't that funny?
It is. And I'm total strangers, but best friends by the end
That's
of the
cool.
journey.
Yeah, in fact, Renee's accepted an offer from three of us to go out to dinner tonight. We're going to buy dinner because the generosity was just amazing. So, do you hike yourself much?
I've never through hiked, but I do like to section hike. I'm currently in the process of finishing Massachusetts.
All right.
I have about 22 miles left.
And you shared with me you had an ambition of a hike.
Yes.
What are you going to do?
The Camino de Santiago.
When are you going to do that?
I don't know. I need to retire first, and that's in about 4 years.
Right.
So I can have the actual time off to do it and take my time.
Oh, you've ain't got a full-time job. I didn't even know that.
I do have a full-time job.
Right. So what do you do?
I'm a manager in a dining facility at a college.
Oh, right.
So, we have certain times off, but you can't take 6 months off, which I
Sure.
would like to take.
So what about other trail angels? Do they get to know each other? Obviously, there was a guy last night. It was hilarious. I won't tell you his name. He'll know who he is, won't he?
It'd be Jimmy.
That'd be Jimmy. Yeah. I mean, he just off the cuff said to me, because I needed to resupply, he said, "I'll take you into Nature's Closet."
Yep.
It's that openness to help someone else, which has always been impressive for me about the trail as well. When you get on the Camino, are you going to throw yourself in the community? Because there's a way of which you can do that, which is basically hang out with everybody and share rooms with everybody. The whole hostel idea.
Hostel,
It's
yep.
so much more fun that way.
Yep.
You can
That's my plan.
And you can sit down and eat with different people every night from different countries.
Yep.
Yeah. And what's the date? You got any in mind?
I don't.
Is it retirement?
Retirement is
Whenever you retire.
whenever it's going to be either 4 years or tomorrow.
Oh, right. I see. Well, look, we were so grateful, and I really thank you so much, because you really made everybody's day yesterday. It was absolutely marvellous, and thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Thanks. As many of you know, this is the part of the trail where the states come thick and fast. And I feel we've been flying through New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and now Vermont. And we're all girding ourselves, though, for the last two states of New Hampshire and Maine. I'm actually already in Vermont, or actually I was in it today. So the next border that I cross will be into New Hampshire. With my seeming unsteadiness on my feet, that is a daunting prospect. Yet, at the same time, I can hardly wait to test myself once more. I'll see you next time.